Before founding a major American relic chapel, Suitbert Mollinger had been convicted of fraud in the Netherlands and sentenced to 5 years in prison. This sentence came years before his Pittsburgh ministry. In 1852, at 23, Mollinger was tried in Maastricht after a fire destroyed property he had recently insured in Venlo. The case also included suspected arson. The court convicted him of fraud but acquitted him of arson. He received 5 years at Horn Prison, serving 6 months less for good conduct. Mollinger left Europe in 1856 and arrived in the United States. By 1859, he had been ordained a priest. He later became pastor of Most Holy Name Parish in Troy Hill. He began acquiring religious relics, and by 1880 the collection held perhaps 4,000 items. Because parish spaces could no longer contain it, construction of St. Anthony's Chapel began in 1882. Its final phase was completed shortly before his death in 1892. In 1925, Zhang Xichen, editor-in-chief of China's leading women's magazine, was removed after its pages advocated polyamory and a more open sexual morality. The Ladies' Journal began in Shanghai in 1915 under the Commercial Press, then one of China's major publishing houses. It gave Zhang a powerful platform. The journal targeted urban readers and could circulate through the press's established distribution network across China. By 1921, it had become commercially successful. After taking charge in January 1921, Zhang redirected the magazine toward feminism, social issues, and translated foreign literature. Cutting its price from 3 jiao to 2 tripled circulation to about 10,000 copies per issue. Following Swedish feminist Ellen Key, Zhang promoted love marriage over arranged marriage and a more open attitude toward sexuality. A 1925 special issue on new sexual morality drew significant backlash. Backlash, alongside political disagreements with the commercial press, contributed to the removal of Zhang and assistant editor Zhou Jianren. Zhang later founded The New Woman while the magazine returned to a more conservative stance. Ostjuden was an antisemitic, often pejorative label for Jews from Eastern Europe. Both non-Jewish Germans and assimilated German Jews used the term. The term circulated in Germany and Austria during the first half of the 20th century. It referred to Jews from Eastern Europe, not to one nationality, office, or organization. Its reach was regional even when its social meaning was hostile. Instead of merely recording a place of origin, the word grouped Eastern European Jews into a distinct category. Regional identity became a way to sort people within the Jewish population. The label therefore carried social meaning beyond geography. Its pejorative force drew on negative qualities that German racism had attributed to Eastern European Jewry since the 19th century. Those older racist stereotypes made the category sound like a judgment, not a neutral description. The geography remained visible, but prejudice shaped what it implied. That is why the same word could cross a social boundary. Outsiders and assimilated insiders could both use it. The term did not become neutral because some German Jews used it. It remained a pejorative label attaching racist assumptions to Jews identified as Eastern European, whether the speaker stood outside or within the Jewish community. Usage did not remove its pejorative connotation. A low-ranking garrison soldier, Lou Jing, became an advisor who persuaded the early Han court to move its capital. From Luoyang, the political center shifted to Chang'an. Lou Jing served under the early Western Han, a dynasty still establishing its political center. At that stage, military service initially placed him below the court's senior decision-makers. He did not remain only a military subordinate. Lou Jing gained access to policy as an advisor, changing his position from garrison soldier to court counselor. That role gave his recommendation a path into dynastic decision-making within the court. The recommendation concerned the Han capital itself. The court relocated the political center from Luoyang to Chang'an. Lou Jing's advice therefore mattered far beyond his original military rank in the new dynasty. Lou Jing's rise continued after the capital decision. He became a noble and diplomat, no longer defined only by his service as a soldier. His career therefore traces a documented shift from garrison duty to influence at the center of government. At midnight in Lagos, the Union Jack came down as Nigeria's green-white-green flag rose before about 40,000 people. The two flags marked a visible change of authority. The ceremony marked the formal transfer of sovereignty from the United Kingdom on 1 October 1960, not simply a public celebration. It took place at midnight, giving the date itself a precise constitutional moment. Princess Alexandra of Kent represented Queen Elizabeth II and presented the constitutional instruments of independence to the emerging federal government. Her role placed constitutional instruments at the center of the handover. At the Lagos race course, the green-white-green flag replaced the Union Jack while about 40,000 people witnessed the midnight ceremony. The location made the sovereignty transfer a public event, with the change of flags visible to the assembled crowd. After those instruments were presented, Nigeria's new federal government assumed authority, converting the midnight ceremony into formal independent state power. The sequence moved from representation to documents to control by the new government itself. Ida Barber was not only a fashion journalist, she used her writing to campaign against corsets, one of the defining garments of her era. Her subject was clothing, but her purpose reached beyond style. Barber worked in Germany as a writer and journalist while also engaging in social activism. Fashion journalism belonged to that broader public work. She also wrote under the pen name Ivan Baranow. A pen name is an adopted name used by a writer. Her public work thus carried another identity alongside Ida Barber's own name. The corset was a familiar feature of women's dress in her era. Barber treated it as a subject for criticism and activism, not merely as an unquestioned fashion choice. Her campaign shows fashion journalism functioning as social activism. Writing about women's dress could criticize a garment rather than merely describe its style. The corset became part of a social argument, not just an outfit. In 1919, a restaurant with vending machines opened inside Gdańsk's 17th-century Great Armoury. A former military arsenal had become a commercial dining site with machines inside. The Great Armoury stands beside Targ Weglowy in Gdańsk, Poland. Its original purpose was military. The 17th-century building was constructed as an arsenal. That history placed the later restaurant inside a purpose-built military structure. Within those former arsenal walls, the 1919 business organized its restaurant around vending machines. That is the documented mechanism. Machines were part of the dining operation, while the available record does not specify the menu, prices, or technology. The business thus operated inside a building regarded as a major example of Mannerist architecture in Gdańsk. Its architectural designation came from the building itself, while the restaurant represented a later use of the same interior. The building's role changed again after 1919. Today, the former arsenal houses the Academy of Fine Arts, and it remains on the regional heritage list. One structure therefore connects military storage, vending machine dining, and art education across different periods. Nearly 128 years after Menabe King Toera died, France returned to Madagascar a skull presumed to be his. The return placed a royal claim in the country his kingdom once ruled. Toera belonged to the Sakalava Kingdom of Menabe, a historic kingdom in western Madagascar. Today, Menabe is a region whose capital is Morondava. The regional name comes from that 18th-century kingdom. The identification was not stated as certain. The returned object was described as presumed to be Toera's skull. That qualification matters because the object carries a claim, not an unquestionable label. The wording preserves uncertainty about the object's identity. The return crossed nearly 128 years between Toera's death and France's act of sending the presumed skull back to Madagascar. A single object therefore linked a distant royal past with a present-day national return. That gap covered almost a century and 3 decades. It returned to the Malagasy region named for the 18th-century Sakalava Kingdom of Menabe. Menabe's capital is Morondava, giving the returned object a specific regional setting. The presumed remnant was back near the history and place connected to Toera's rule.